This is a Shang-Chi movie review, and I'm going to let you guys know what's up with the movie as a whole. Let's rock. Welcome to the channel. This is GVN, where we review movies, series, comics, animations, and video game. It's your boy Tech, you know. Today, it's all about Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. What I'm going to be doing in this is, I'm going to be giving a little backstory for the character himself and also the MCU character, because a lot of stuff happened in the background and also in the real world. And this movie is sort of fixing it, something we call retconning in the comics universe, right? Now, first and foremost, Shang-Chi. Now, Shang-Chi is a character whose dad in this movie is Su Wen-Wu, but before we even go into all of that, we need to go back to the comics origin. So if you guys remember Iron Man 3 that was released in, I think, 2013 or so. Now, you know, there was a character called the Mandarin, played by Sir Ben Kingsley. Now, when it was introduced, like everybody, I mean, including me, flipped because we're like, yay, the Ten Rings, I'm the Mandarin, because the Mandarin is an iconic supervillain for Iron Man, the same way we have like Green Goblin to Spider-Man. So yeah, like they come head to head against each other over and over and over. And yes, he has 10 rings that have 10 different powers. You know, there's one that has white light, black light, so many powers, right? So imagine how it felt for people like us, right, that knew about this character from the comics and finding out that in the Iron Man 3 movie, it was a fraud. I mean, that's why most people, myself inclusive, once again, did not really like that movie. Yes, as an action movie, it did well. The story, yes, it did well. But you don't take someone as iconic like that from the comics and the mythos of Marvel as a whole and just make him some actor that was the front for something. And then, you know, it messed with the entire 10 Rings idea in the MCU. Now, here's the thing. Marvel does that a lot, especially with the MCU, right? And it's a fact that some things they can get away with, but some things, nah, we'll just riot. Like, we'll come out with our placards and say, burn them, burn them. And that's what we did for this one. Like, most people really weren't fans of the fact that it's understandable when you do that for smaller characters. I mean, they've done that for Crossbones. I mean, look at what they did in Black Widow for Taskmaster. You know, they've done that for a couple of people in the past. Fine. Maybe these guys are C-listers or B-listers, but not the A-listers. Like I said, imagine making Green Goblin some fake to Spider-Man. Okay, in the upcoming movie, the upcoming Spider-Man movie, No Way Home, coming out in December. Now imagine that bomb that we saw that is the Green Goblin. We now find out that it's just maybe some random person that just happened to have the bomb and threw it. Nah, we'll riot. So you get. So this is what happened with the Iron Man 3 movie, and Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is Marvel's way of sort of retconning it. Now, retconning it, here's why I said so. Now we're moving to the movie itself. Shang-Chi, played by Simu Liu, his father, Tony Leung, played the character Su Wen-Wu. Su Wen-Wu is a combination of two characters from the comics, and that is the Mandarin, whom they botched, Marvel botched in Iron Man 3, and Fu Manchu. Now, Fu Manchu is Shang-Chi's dad. He's the one that has this idea of wanting to dominate the world and all of that. It's sort of like, because he also has some sort of moral code, right? But he's evil through and through. So that much should be clear. He's evil through and through. And they tried to combine two different people in one in this movie. So that is where Tony Leung's Xu Wen-Wu comes in. That's Xu Wen-Wu. Now, moving on to the movie itself. This first part is going to be spoiler-free. So if you're still watching to this point, don't worry, I'm not going to spoil anything for you guys. Later on in the review, I'm going to mention the part where spoilers begin, and you will get a proper warning. Trust me, I don't like spoilers either. Now, for the movie itself, there's a lot of backstory involved, which is understandable because we see the character Shang-Chi as an adult, but his past plays a major role in the narrative of the entire movie, because who is he facing at the end of the day? His dad. What is the reason for the conflict between him and his dad? What's the legend of the Ten Rings? You know, there is so much to unpack that a backstory was needed, and we get to see Shang-Chi as a little kid. We get to see Shang-Chi as a teenager, and of course the adults played by Simu Liu. And of course there are a couple of other characters like Michelle Yeoh. I love that woman, whatever she does. We get to see Aquafina, who did a decent job in this. I'm not going to lie. I've forgotten his sister's name, the real life character, but in this movie Shang-Chi has a sister, and hey, she kicked major ass. I enjoyed watching her doing this. And speaking of kicking major ass, that's something that this movie delivers on. When it comes to the action sequences, for the most part, man, it was top-notch stuff. You can see that, yes, of course, there will be areas where there were maybe 1 or 2 stunt doubles, right? But the actors themselves, they did some of their stunts and they did it well. Simu Liu, you know, the boss scene from the trailer that, was all over the place. He actually did fights like Jackie Chan. And one part was funny in the movie, this is not a spoiler, trust me. That part was funny where, you know, when Jackie Chan does something, he fights, and you know, they are passers-by or something, he say, sorry. He did something like that in this one. And I think it was fun, right? Because it was like apologizing, but it wasn't too comical. It was focused on the fighting, but then the parts that would involve being maybe a bit comical or funny even in the fight hits the mark. And that's something I like that the director did. That's Destin Daniel Cretton. Now, he was able to tell a story rather, about the greatest fighter in Marvel, because that is who Shang-Chi is. Like, Shang-Chi is so good, and he's also such a dope teacher that in the comics, he taught Spider-Man how to fight, that Spider-Man was able to create his own fighting style. Because if you notice, Spider-Man, yes, he has the superpowers, he's super strong and all that, but he doesn't really know how to fight. Like, he can hit you, and man, if he hits you hard, you will break a couple of ribs. But he doesn't know how to fight, right? And that was one thing that in the comics, Shang-Chi taught him how to do, which I would like to see moving forward, how all these characters intersect with each other. And speaking of intersecting with each other, you know, from the trailer, we got to see Wu and Abomination fight in that cage, right? And yes, we saw that in this movie, and I think that's something Marvel is capitalizing a lot on, which I like. They are, you know, bringing in all their characters. If you notice, from the very first trailer, the one that we saw for Spider-Man like a couple of weeks back, Wu was doing his thing to go to another place, right? I think he was actually leaving the Spider-Man movie to go to the Shang-Chi movie. So those 2 movies were probably going to be happening at the same time. I don't know yet, but then, you know, he was leaving in the trailer for some place, and then we see him in the Shang-Chi movie, but at least from all we know, we don't really see him play a part in the Spider-Man movie, at least based on the first trailer. So I think maybe that was where he was also going. But I like, there were some cute little cameos here and there, and this one is going to be a spoiler, so that's why I don't want to mention it. But there was a nice cameo in the movie of a character, and you know, you could tell that Marvel was trying their best to put all of this together to, you know, try to fix that error in Iron Man 3, that egregious mistake that they made. And yes, they did it. Like I said, the fighting was good. The CGI for the most part was good. There was one part that I noticed that I was like, this is Marvel now. Is it that you guys were saving your budget for the end? Because this was in Act 2 of the movie. I noticed, most people I believe won't, but I noticed it and I was like, nah, that shouldn't have happened. But overall, the CGI was great, the fighting was awesome. See, the story, now, I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to get into spoilers, but then there was a part in the story that I did not really dig, especially it was when it came to the part of convictions, right? That's why I would say, I know that there would have been a better way to tell the story, but that's just part of the story with the conviction, but they did not do it. I did not believe that could work. And this had to do with the antagonist that we've seen from the trailer, that Shu Wenwu, to Leung's character. I did not see anything that's made any sense in that particular part. It felt more like a plot device to just push the story forward than something that was really thought through. And speaking of plot devices, so one thing I would say is, you know, since it's a major advantage for Marvel that all their characters are home and they've established the universe, I mean, this is like phase 4 already, right? So anybody can appear in any movie at this point. Like, just expect that. You can see, with the exception of characters that are dead, which would be a major oh my god moment, any other character can appear in any other movie. So we have the Eternals coming soon, right? Heck, you might see Spider-Man in it, or you might see Thor in it. Like, just expect that. That is what is happening with Marvel right now. So when those cameos happen, sometimes, like in this movie, sometimes it might not be something that actually plays a major role. It's just a sort of maybe fan service. Because I'll tell you, in that entire movie, the fight between Wu and Abomination, it did not really add anything to the story. That's the truth. But it was fun to see. I liked it. So so that's the sort of stuff that you should be expecting with some of these things. And also, speaking of which, this movie, if you've not seen it yet, it has 2 end credit scenes. So there's a mid-credit part and there is an after-credit part. So do not miss out on that. It's a lot of fun. I am going to mention them in the spoiler parts of this review. So if you don't want to wait in the cinemas like I did, because it did take some time and this movie is like 2 hours long or so. So if you don't want to wait till then, I'm going to discuss it later on. Overall, Marvel was able to sell us a Jet Li style film trick movie with a Jackie Chan type action movie for the Western cinema and the world at large, and they did an amazing job. It's a major milestone for the Asian culture in general, in mainstream media. I would say maybe for me, it does not feel as big, maybe in Africa and globally, as Black Panther was, the movie, but I think it has that kind of impact, and it's just one that I'm excited to see what they do with it moving forward. Overall, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings gets an 8/10 from us. It was worth the trip to the cinema for me. I wasn't pissed. I did enjoy a solid action flick, and overall, it wasn't a terrible story. And that's it for the spoiler-free part of this review. Now, moving on to the spoiler part. This is your warning. I'm even going to do a countdown. So 5, 4, spoilers, 3, 2, spoilers, 1, spoiler time. All right, so here's the thing. With the spoiler parts of this review, there are some things that I want to mention. I did touch on a little bit in the initial part, but now I am going to break down a couple of things. So first and foremost, Awkwafina's character, Katie. See, I have nothing against the character as an actress, like as a human being. And Katie's character is one that was created, you know, most of these things now, remember I talked about the backstory and we know all of these things. Many of these characters were created from the comics, brought into the live action cinema for all of us to see. Now, it's very rare for it to be the other way around, that maybe a character from the movies will now make their way into the comics or they will affect the comics, or a character from an animation would. An example is Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn actually was not created in the comics. She was created in the animation and she made her way into the comics and live action, right? Because I mean, she was just such a titular character. The same thing applies for Phil Coulson. But see, Phil Coulson, this was Phil Coulson that he was this agent that when it's time to be an agent, is brilliant, is smart, he gets shit done. And when it's time to be a badass fanboy of Captain America, we all know he loves Captain America. But it wasn't like now shoehorned and given a major role in the movie itself, you get. Now, why am I mentioning all of this? When it came to Awkwafina's character in this movie, she was shoehorned to, see, a lot of things that involved the bonding between her character and Shang-Chi was something that should have happened between Shang-Chi and his sister. Because if you notice in the movie, there was a lot of bad blood between them, and it was because Shang-Chi abandoned her, right? This could have been the moment that they used to do a lot of their bonding. I didn't see the need for Katie's character. Okay, what was her motivation for going on this journey where Shang-Chi's life changed in such an amazing way? What was her motivation? Okay, he's been lying to her for the entire time they've known each other. Yes, some of it is sort of like a half-truth situation, and then she said, you have to explain to me, and then she gets on a plane, and then she goes to see his sister with him, and then she goes to their father's secret hideout, and then she goes to Talo with him, and then she learns how to shoot a bow in 2 days, and then out of nowhere, Auntie becomes Hawkeye number 3, because since there's a part 2 coming out in the series, or for feature film, we'll say Hawkeye number 2. And then she shoots the arrow through the dragon's throat. Someone that learns how to shoot a bow in less than 2 days. Come on! You learn how to shoot an arrow in less than 2 days and you could shoot from that distance, and so you get mad talent. See, here's the thing. Coulson, even all the way until he got the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Movie itself, or series itself, Coulson was able to play an important role but wasn't so pivotal in all the movies he appeared in. I mean, even where Loki stabbed him, right, and it was like he died. He shot Loki, and that like really got Loki. But it's not like he was the one that now did that moment where Hulk did the smash, blah, 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 and all of a sudden Coulson just somehow pulls out one superpower that he's not even supposed to ever have, and then sort of saves the day. And that was what Awkwafina's character did. So I honestly think she was shoot on into this entire thing. The relationship between him and his sister, that Shang-Chi and his sister should have been explored a lot more, because if you notice, when you guys watch the movie, and for those of you who have watched the movie, you notice that she always had this concerned look on her face. I couldn't just understand it, like, I did not get that part of it. It was insane. So that's the thing. I really had a major issue with that, because I understand character development. I understand introducing a new character, a fresh character into a movie. But the one for Katie, Awkwafina's character, it was shoehorned in. Someone that learned how to shoot a bow and arrow in 2 days would not be that good, that proficient to fire from that distance. And of course, in the end credit scene, that's the first one, the mid-credit scene, you can see when Wu came and he called them, he said, the two of you, your lives have changed forever. It's clear that they have plans for her in the franchise moving forward, and I'm like, they have to do a better job with that character, because I am not convinced. I think that was a major part of this movie that was just for me. Oh yeah, one other thing is the motivation for Shang-Chi's father, for him to do all the things he did, you know, trying to seek out their mother and all of that. It was, this guy has been alive for over 1,000 years. Yes, I understand that there is grief, and grief could make a person do different things that they would not normally do in their right mind, right? But I don't think it was convincing enough for me for him to do all those things that he did, to now let out that creature that they now did the final fight with and everything, and then him dying. I don't think that, and that was also another major issue for me. I don't think he should have died. I think that character had a lot more to bring to the table than just letting him die in that movie. So for me, Tony Leung, I think they did your character dirty. It shouldn't have been a one-off deal with this movie. I think you should have stayed to the end. Yeah, the fight between Shang-Chi and his dad, oh my God, that was beautiful. Like, that was a sight to behold, and I could imagine all the possibilities of having someone that has been alive for over 1,000 years play in the movie itself and the franchise moving forward. So him just dying, like Killmonger dying in the Black Panther movie, right? Because, you know, there are parallels between these two movies. So Killmonger dying, yeah, maybe it's still sort of understandable and justified. And when we talk about final fight scenes, the CGI of Black Panther sucked compared to this one. Like, this one was amazing, right? So that's why I said CGI for most of it, they did well. So Leung's character, I think they shouldn't have just killed him off like that. And I think the conviction of his character to do all the things he did, now invading Tahoe and everything, oh, nah, I don't think that should have been. Oh yeah, and I know I don't know that much about Chinese culture, right? But I don't know if any of you noticed that there's a parallel between a lot of their mythical creatures and looking like dragons. So even if it looks like a lion, it still looks like a dragon. If it looks like a horse, it still has a dragon head. It's like the dragon is, no offense to Two-Face, but it's like dragon is like the Two-Face of the Chinese culture, that it just has babies everywhere. So maybe he has a baby with a horse, it's dragon head horse. Has a baby with a lion, dragon head lion. I don't know, everything else. Or a lot of the mythical creatures just look like a dragon. And oh yeah, one other funny thing, see the character. I think that's one of the areas where, as I said, for the most part, even the comedy stuck the landing. The character that Awkwafina's Katie called the pig chicken, because it did not have a face and it had wings. So it was like, it was a butt, it was a face, it was weird. As a final note, overall, this movie was fun. If you like fantasy and you like martial arts and you like emerging, I think Shang-Chi is the movie for you. If you like what you've watched, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and check out this video or this video next to see some of our other dope reviews on the channel. It's been your boy Tech for GVN. Peace.